All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, as we were discussing, Nate Silver out with his big election forecast and unsurprisingly gives Biden the advantage in terms of winning this November. Right now, his model is Biden winning in 71% of the simulations and Trump winning in 29% of the simulations. Sounds pretty good for Biden until you realize that Nate's final election analysis before 2016 gave Hillary an identical 71% chance of winning versus Trump's 29%. Oh, crap. But, well, Biden's doing well in the polls, right? Let's take a gander, shall we? Right now, Biden holds about a 7-point lead in the Real Clear Politics average of national polls, while at this time in 2016, Hillary Clinton held a 7-point lead in the Real Clear Politics average of national polls. And Trump, of course, continues to perform better in battleground states, just like he did in 2016, than he does nationally. He's currently trailing Biden by an average of 4 points in Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Florida, and Arizona. Think about this. With the virus still spreading, many schools remaining closed, college sports getting called off, and millions facing joblessness, homelessness, and food insecurity, Trump should be getting destroyed. I mean, only 13% of Americans are satisfied with the direction of the country, and yet he's still within striking distance, right on pace with where he was in 2016. With as bad as things are right now, and with Trump having made every political error you could possibly think of, the fact that Biden is basically performing at the same level as HRC should give Democrats nightmares and fill them with urgency. Spoiler alert, it's not. Because it's not just the numbers with echoes of Hillary 2016. The entire campaign approach has big Hillary 2.0 energy. Let's start with the VP pick. Tim Kaine and Kamala were both described similarly as do-no-harm candidates. It's not really the right way to think of either one of them, though, while their public brands are quite different, and Kamala does excite passions in a segment of already committed Democrats, something Kaine could never claim. Both should really be viewed as an FU to the left. After a very difficult primary in 2016 exposed divisions in the Democratic Party base that many were not even aware existed in the Obama years, it would have been a logical and wise choice to put someone in the VP slot who could help unite the party and make the young left of the party and the working class voters who backed Bernie feel like they were in fact important to Democrats. If she had made such a choice, there's a good chance Hillary Clinton would be president today. Kamala is a similar selection. Much of the Bernie left can't stand her for her betrayal on Medicare for All and for generally not really standing for anything. There's this crazy media narrative, of course, that Kamala is going to be really exciting to young voters and to minority voters in particular. Here's a reality check. When she dropped down to the Democratic primary race, she was at 4% with voters under 30, 2% with Latino voters, but a comparatively healthy 12% with voters in the highest income bracket. I guess in that way, she really was a top-tier candidate. So like Hillary before him, Joe has selected a VP who sends a clear screw you message to the left. But really, the entire Biden approach is uncomfortably reminiscent of Hillary's strategic and tactical choices. On the tactics, Biden's campaign is touting how they are expanding the map and competing in states like Ohio and Texas and Georgia in a bid to create more pathways to 270. In 2016, Hillary similarly sought to expand the map, focusing time and resources on states she didn't actually need to win instead of focusing like a laser on the most likely tipping point states. There's no need to get greedy and grasp for a landslide, but in echoes of 2016, Biden appears to be doing exactly that. But most importantly, as Hillary's campaign did last time around, Biden's decided that his best bet is to center the entire election on Trump. Biden's whole battle for the soul of America messaging could be ripped directly from a Hillary 2016 ad.
See, there was blood coming out of her eyes, blood coming out of her wherever.
You got to see this guy. Oh, I don't know what I said. I don't remember. He's going like, I don't remember.
His campaign has articulated this explicitly. Campaign manager Jen O'Malley-Dillon explained on a conference call describing their fall ad buy strategy that this election is a clear referendum on Donald Trump and his failed leadership, on COVID, and also on the economy. They're betting once again that it's enough to be against Trump and that they don't have to do all that much on offering a counter agenda or affirmatively making the case for Joe. Instead, they're going viral with quality boomer content like this. You won't have to worry about my tweets when I'm president. Obviously, they turned it into a t-shirt as well because it perfectly encapsulates the vapid resistance bait core of his campaign. Look, it could work this time. Last time, Hillary essentially only made the moral argument against Trump, and it failed, in part because her own moral standing was highly questionable. This time, Trump's got a real record of failure to reckon with on coronavirus, on handling the protests, and on the economic response to a massive depression. Not to mention his political instincts appear to have completely abandoned him as he goes down the Biden as a radical leftist rabbit hole. But I don't know about you, I'm feeling a lot of 2016 deja vu right now, in spite of the domestic landscape being so radically different. Of course, it shouldn't be surprising that Democrats would find themselves in this place, running the same failed strategy and hoping this time for better results. After all, Biden and Hillary are very similar politicians, standard issue neoliberals with maybe slightly different branding and packaging. But somehow, Democratic voters were thoroughly tricked by the media and the Dem establishment into believing that this time around, this version of the same old washed-up establishment Zion would be what the public was really clamoring for. Perhaps this time will be different, but I feel about as comfortable as I should have felt on Election Day 2016. The more that I see this play out, and we're watching, look, in the depths of this crisis, the polls are narrowing.
Yes.
No one should feel comfortable. And the fact that they are once again banking on Trump is bad as their one and only message. And look, again, they have a lot more to work with this time. And it's not just a moral case they're making. They are making the case on coronavirus. They are actually making the right argument on that side. But is it enough without actually offering a positive vision of your own? That remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I think that's the major thing, which is that whenever you go all in on Trump bad, and look, they have some ammo. They have a lot more than they have coronavirus. They've got the economic depression. They've got all of that. And yet they're still only winning by 7.5. They still got the same odds as Hillary did in 2016. So how did that happen exactly? Which means that if Trump ran the type of campaign that I talk about in my radar, then I think he would win. Easily, I think he could win. Kamala and Biden are some of the most beatable people from an objective standpoint. So it's like, don't hand them the victory. And then they're also not only just running the exact same playbook. Honestly, I think it's worse. I think that they distilled all of the worst parts of Hillary 2016 and have boiled it completely down to Trump is bad. That all of the ills of the economy, all of the ills of our society, of America, etc., are because of Donald Trump. They don't have any systemic critique which lands with any voters. And you look at Biden's support, 2/3 of it are people who are voting against Trump. Nobody is voting for him. That's why he has the lowest enthusiasm numbers of any modern Democratic presidential nominee. All of this is a recipe for complete disaster. Well, and I think that, you can still win. That's the thing. Of course you can still win. I don't want to
he ran a terrible primary campaign and he won. So
you can still win the presidency.
It's unprecedented times. And I definitely don't want to be like, he's done and he's dead and there's no way he's going to win in the fall. On the other hand, I see this growing confidence in the media. And I would say that was somewhat justified like 3 weeks ago. We were looking at the polls and going, wow, this is getting ugly and out of hand with no real change in sight. But things have started to shift, and Democrats have taken a tremendous risk by backing someone whose whole ideology and approach, number one, was thoroughly rejected by voters last time around. Right. And number two, who isn't at the top of his game to articulate and advocate for that vision, even if it is an appealing vision. And now you've added to that ticket Kamala Harris, who doesn't bring anybody into the fold, who actually actively antagonizes a part of your base that you supposedly want to actually show up and vote for you. I just see a lot of the same mistakes, the same arrogance again coming into play. And look, maybe it'll work out this time. It certainly could. And Trump is doing everything he possibly can to lose. But he is a more skilled campaigner. Trump is. I mean, you look at him and he says crazy stuff and he's all over the place. It's random, it's bizarre, whatever. But he is a much more skilled and intuitive campaigner than Joe Biden is at this point. So as this thing progresses and people actually start to focus in on these candidates vis-a-vis one another, you could easily see the ground just start to shift.
I think that's very right.
All right, Sagar, looking forward to your radar. That's next.